Boom. Sky's out.
I guess so today I'm going to be giving you an in-depth Vandal guide. I recently did an in-depth Phantom guide, and I want to explain a little bit more the differences between the two guns. I'm going to go ahead and play some background gameplay for you guys to understand these tips a little better. But pretty much, I think it's important to understand the differences between these two guns because, again, these two guns are probably the two most common used weapons in the whole game. Obviously, on buy rounds you can't, or on non-buy rounds you can't buy them, but on buy rounds these are definitely the most common weapons. So understanding when and why you should be using them is, I think, a very valuable thing. So the biggest difference and the biggest benefit that the Vandal has over the Phantom is that there's no range fall-off for headshot damage. This pretty much means you can one-shot headshot people at all distances, which is extremely powerful if you consider certain long-range maps like Breeze. And the Phantom does have a fall-off range, so this means if you hit someone in the head with one bullet at a certain range, or past a certain range, it's going to be doing 140 damage, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, and I'm sure some of you actually don't use the Phantom because of that. So, what are the other differences between the Vandal and the Phantom? Some other minor differences is that the Vandal has 25 bullets per magazine, and the Phantom has 30. Another one is the Vandal has slightly slower fire rate than the Phantom. So, again, this is going to tie into why the Vandal is a little bit worse at spraying. But also, one more difference is the first shot spread, which you can hover over in the buy menu to see. But next, I'm going to be explaining like methods of shooting between these two guns. The Vandal you should consider tapping at long range. Not always, but either tapping or bursting like 2 or 3 bullets at long range. You notice that I'm going to be spraying a little more than I would probably recommend you to. For very close ranges, it's completely okay to spray. But for example, this range, you shouldn't spray there. That's not ideal, but spraying at medium ranges can be okay, but just don't fully commit to a spray, because again, you only have 25 bullets compared to the Phantom, which you have 30. So I would definitely consider, being aware of that, and primarily be focused on tapping or bursting at like these ranges here, because again, that's what the Vandal is going to be excelling at. So, whereas with the Phantom, you can spray definitely a little bit longer because you have more bullets and you shoot a little quicker. It's a little easier to control the spray pattern. And you can also do it even a little bit farther range with the Phantom. But the main difference is being able to one-tap at long ranges with the Vandal and not being able to do that with the Phantom, which I've kind of already explained. So, next, we can talk a little bit about ADSing. ADSing with the Phantom isn't really something you see too often, but both the Phantom and the Vandal have a 1.25x zoom. So this means that you get a nice little zoom whenever you're holding right click. And this makes taking long range fights also pretty easy and pretty manageable with the Vandal. So I would consider doing that whenever you're specifically in long range fights. It just makes killing people a little easier. You don't have to do it. There's nothing saying that you have to ADS, but I think it's, again, you can kind of see it makes the enemy's head a little bit bigger because of the magnification. So that's something else for you to consider. Next, we have consider the map that you're on. So I kind of already said this, like, if you're on Breeze, definitely consider using the Vandal if you're buying the Phantom, just because of the range differences. Especially if you're in lower, like a lower rank, you're probably not really thinking about that, but it's definitely something that's going to help your performance, even if your aim isn't like the best. Just buying the Vandal on a long range map like Breeze. But also, for example, if we are just taking a long-range fight on a map, like, for example, if the map's Ascent, the whole map isn't really long-range, but if you want to fight mid, then you might also opt for the Vandal, just because that's a really long-range fight, and if you're going the Phantom and trying to go mid, it's going to be harder to really fight people. So also consider, like, where you're playing, where you're going, whenever you buy these guns. The last thing I'm going to say before the game ends here is, I think the Vandal can actually be better than the Phantom, but it'll rarely be the case. Mainly because I think the Vandal can actually benefit from more aim ability or more aim skill. So this is basically the case because, again, you have that potential to one-shot headshot people at any range as long as you don't shoot them through the wall, obviously. And this is going to be extremely good. Like, if you think about it, you only need 5 bullets to get an ace. Whereas with the Phantom, that's probably not going to happen a lot of the time. But this also is reliant on you being able to consistently kill. This is reliant on you being able to consistently hit their heads, which is obviously not even pros can't always hit the head. So, you know, I think the Vandal definitely has some good competition with the Phantom though. So consider, you know, consider trying it out. But those are my tips for you. And let's go ahead and see the here at the end. Pretty good stomp for me. I would highly suggest learning the Vandal if you haven't. And consider, again, the primary differences is the map that you're on and kind of the range differences between the Phantom and the Vandal. But without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe and peace.